I've forgotten the guy's name who wrote Nimrod. Now it's always played on Remembrance Sunday.
Well, we are live.
We dream the same dream, we want the same thing, unless you are video game publishers and developers and the ESA, when you obviously don't. Hello, we are Pixel Pints. We are the only global podcast that talks about two good things that we enjoy, which is good beer and video games. We're not here to promote drinking. Please drink responsibly. Any beers or brews we might be talking about, or video games and all that kind of stuff, aren't sponsoring us, mainly because I swear normally within the first 5 minutes and ruin the YouTube algorithm. So I'll try and refrain from doing that shit. Oh, no, I did it again. I shall flagellate myself later. You can follow us at pixel_pints on Twitter and at pixelpintspod on Instagram. You can find most of our episodes archived on our YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com and search for Pixel Pints. I think I nailed that one.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while since you nailed it, so I'm happy for you.
Well done, me. You know who's not well done too? The ESA. I feel really sorry for them. Liam, how are things with you?
I'm good. Although I don't feel sorry for the ESA, I'm glad they're
Why?
struggling and having a bad time.
Oh.
It brings a smile to my face because I love their suffering.
Mitch, how are things in LA?
The ESA should have pizzaed instead of French fried because they're gonna have a bad time.
I'm not familiar with that reference.
So South Park
Of
taught
course, it's going to be South Park.
taught kids how to ski, and they used it as like a 80s movie thread, which like teaches a guy to ski, and they're like, okay, pizza, French fry. If you French fry instead of pizza, you're gonna have a bad time. And then there's a guy just like going down the slopes, like, wow, and you see that. He French fried instead of pizza. He had a bad time. It's great. And then he ends up somehow like learning how to ski like beginner level. And the guy's like, "Don't you think you're so good? Like you should take me on in a serious double-decker race for my girl." And then there's like a montage. It's like the basic cheesy 80s film in an episode while the parents all get stuck in a timeshare meeting. Anyway,
So you've obviously been watching far too much South Park,
Oh,
probably since the age of...
ever. For me, South Park is listed for me as the number 2 best show ever created. I think those guys are just fucking brilliant. They're just amazing. I literally just watched an episode where they had part of the episode featured ChatGPT. Like ChatGPT wrote part of the episode for them, and they gave them a writing credit. It's like you gave ChatGPT a writing credit. So good. It's because the boys didn't know how to answer their girlfriend's text messages, so they would send it to ChatGPT, and then it would come up with a beautiful response, and they just copy paste it, not reading it at all. So like when one of them had a dinner with his girlfriend, she just goes like, "What about the boat accident?" He's like, "Oh yeah, that was pretty fun." She's like, "But didn't someone die?" It's like, and he just doesn't even know what he said to her. But anyway, I'm good. I was enjoying my weekend. Got to play some Resident Evil. I'm not done yet. I'm really enjoying the game. It's just I am playing on a harder difficulty than I think I should have, and so it's making it a little more what's the word I'm looking for? I literally should be it's making it harder, which makes me spend more time. I think I'm 17 hours in, and I'm like 2/3 of the way done at least, or maybe 3/4. So I just really want to get through it because I also want to play on New Game Plus after I get all the things. But they offer the 3 modes, and I took the highest one because it said, "Oh, if you played the original RE4, which I had a bunch of times, they're like, play this mode." In this mode, you have way less fucking ammo. Like, way less ammo. You don't know the combat system. Like, I think if I knew what I know now, in the beginning, I would have changed my complete strategy, and I think I would be a little bit better off. But because I'm learning the game fresh with their new systems and then trying to do it, I ended up like I have a spot right now where I have like no ammo and a bunch of enemies, so I think I have to go back maybe like 30 minutes or so and redo some stuff so I can save on some ammo. And that's the first time I ever had to do that in a while. So I like kudos to the challenge, but it was a little frustrating for me because I was like, damn it, all that work, and I just did that.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, but no, it's amazing. Like, this game is phenomenal. The only thing that it's missing, and I wish it had, is
Building, crafting,
no, it's
anything
got
to do
crafting,
with
has
leaves,
crafting.
attaching mushrooms to shields.
Oh my god, don't get me started on that. We probably should do our final thoughts, our thoughts on that to round it up to end the cast, because I do want to like say a couple words about that. Anyway, well, finally is the only thing it's missing is the RE3 dodge button. Like, I think this game would do really well with having that dodge button. Like, it's the enemies do get closer because they're faster and because you have new moves too. But there's just, once they get up close to you, you seem like you're out of options and you're just fucked. Like, you can try to run away and it doesn't really work as well. And they already give you some dodging. So like, I'm surprised they didn't build in the RE3 dodge button.
Is there a really good way to dodge a chainsaw though?
Yes. So like Jill had for the enemies, she had in RE3 remake. If you went back, she would do a sidestep back. She could sidestep she would roll to the sides, or she would roll forward. And I think the forward momentum, she basically would duck under the enemy and like roll behind them. And so like that, I think would work really well for dodging the chainsaw. And there's times they already ask him to duck. So like, why not?
I just thought it was funny you mentioned that, Mitch, because I think that mechanic would actually work better in this game than it did in RE3.
I think it worked pretty well in RE3. I think it was like a nice little, pretty well. I think it worked because I think it was, I played so much RE2 as a nice little spin of like trying to avoid enemies by adding this new challenge to it. But yeah, I think this game really could have used the dodge button. I think it would have been, I think for me, I would have said it's perfect. Like, this is the second time I'm like, they're that close to perfection, and they didn't get there with it. Only final thought on that one, I'm a little disappointed there's no assignment Ada section. I really loved that. That was one of my favorite things.
Coming. It's got to be coming. I mean, they found the files in the game. So it's like, if they don't do it,
well,
I may go to Japan and harass the developers.
Well, I've seen don't harass developers.
You don't,
that's not cool.
You don't have to do that.
Don't harass
just do
developers.
It online. That's what people do, isn't it?
There's nothing wrong with harassing developers, surely. They're not people.
They're developers, come on.
Jeez.
It's all done through Chat GP now anyway.
We do not, this podcast not condone harassing any kind of developer.
Wait, Keith, I just realised Mitch is a developer.
Yeah, but which means Mitch is now no longer a person. So this is how we've overcome that that moral dilemma that we were having. We don't like harassing people, but now Mitch is a developer. He's no longer a person. It's fine. It's like harassing people on the phone when you call up a customer service call center. They're not people. They're the call center.
Or when you call them up and say their refrigerator's on, which I've never experienced as a child.
So there is that. There's ways around all of this. I mean, you can't. The people who really shouldn't be harassing are executives. I mean, they're the real hard done by group in all of this. Please, why won't someone think of the executive class?
Keith, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm going to do a very quick transition into beer talk because I won't actually be able to drink the beer straight away because it's too cold. So
it's frozen?
No, it's not. It's called Optical Storm. It's from Timothy Taylor's, which is normally they do a really good, what I'd call a proper English bitter called Landlord. But this is something I've never seen before. But it says the best temperature to drink at is between 6 and 8 degrees, and my fridge is goes from, I don't know, kind of Arctic during the winter to minus 271 Kelvin, with nothing in between. So it had, so everything in there just gets absolutely freezing cold. So I wanted to leave it out for a little bit before I drink it. So instead, I've got some my version of Evan's Kirin Ichiban Shibori, which is Carlsberg Export.
I had one. It's on my desk still for celebration. I'll bring it for next week, but it was amazing. It was like the art design's phenomenal. It looks like a Pokemon card. And then on top of it's like so many fruit flavors. Keith, it would make you go bonanza for how many fruit flavors, but it actually tasted really good. Like it was really good.
I've got in the fridge for a brewery who I really like called Tiny Rebel from Wales. They've chosen to do some special beers for their 11th birthday. I don't know why they're 11th and not their 10th.
It's one every year. We celebrate every birthday. What are you talking about, Keith?
One of them is absolute Burkoff juice, so I didn't even touch that. But the one that I've got in the fridge is a caramelized pineapple ale.
Ooh, that does sound good. Damn.
Yes, I'm saving that for at some point. Maybe we could do it during our E3 episode. Oh no, there probably won't be an E3 episode.
No, you're talking about Summer Games Fest episode.
We probably won't be in E3.
So it'll be key free.
Key 3.
Key free, yeah.
There's one key to rule them all, one key to find them, and then one key lead to in the darkness bind them. Is that where we're going with this?
Sounds good.
One key to find them and then to heckle him. He rhymes at them.
Is Keighley Sauron in this for you, Liam? Because you just put the thought in my mind. Maybe he is.
I mean, if he is Sauron, then maybe Sauron was right all along. You know, I mean, sure beats the ESA.
Okay, we're going to get onto the topic proper, which is the.
Well, does Liam have beer?
Liam does not have beer. Liam, you have beer.
I have a beer.
Keith.
Oh my God.
You missed the message that you said the one time I brought beer and Mitch was still in bed.
I did miss that message.
As you can tell, I'm an expert holding this up to the camera because I've done it so many times.
So I really like that brewery.
Mad Squirrel, yeah, it's good.
Mad Squirrel Brewery. I've had their Roadkill, which tasted way better than I thought Roadkill would ever taste.
It's very nice. I haven't had this one before, but I've had Roadkill about 4 or 5 times.
So what is that one that you have? Is it Aztec?
Yeah, this one's called Aztec. And to be honest, I have no idea what it's supposed to taste like, other than it has barley, oats, and wheat,
and I'm assuming hops.
And hops, yes. But it has 6.2, which is quite high. But I don't know if Roadkill was that high, but
Roadkill was 5 point something.
I mean, unlike you, I'm not going to put it in the glass. I just don't work that way.
Yeah, why bother? Just wipe the lid with your hand. That'll get rid of all the germs. And then just start drinking. I saw on the can. I saw the acronym IPA, so I'm assuming it's 6 point something because it's just a powerfully hopped strong beer, which, as I explained last time, which just is the synonymous way that everyone's making IPAs now.
So basically, you're saying I should listen to you more often?
Pretty much, yes.
No.
In fact, all of the time, even when you're asleep. If you'd like me to record some just me reading stuff to you, I'll happily do that, so you can have me in your earballs whilst you go to bed.
I love to hear
Keith. Stories would be nice.
I'd love to hear Keith read "Go the fuck to sleep."
It depends on how you want it inflected, because it could be "Go the fuck to sleep."
If you listen to Samuel L. Jackson's recording of that audiobook, he actually does different inflections based on each one. It's great.
I love the fact that you brought that up.
Yes. So, Liam, I hope you enjoy your Mad Squirrel.
Enjoy it more than E3. Ayo, transition.
Just crowbar that transition in. Yes, so we are here to talk about the premature death of E3. Mitch, you wanted to bring the topic up, so would you like to kick us off?
I don't mind if I do, kind sir. I just kind of, obviously, we've talked about this topic for quite some time of just being like, is the ESA dying? Is E3 dying slowly? And we keep saying yes, because they're all messing it up. They're all fucking it up. So just want to get first your first thoughts about when E3 finally died.
Well, it's not technically dead yet. It's on life support. I'd say.
It's dead. It's dead. We're counting it dead.
Oh no! It's the analogy that I would use is that maybe it ran into Gwyneth Paltrow at a skiing resort, but rather than waking up trying to sue on the basis that you can no longer enjoy wine tasting, it's actually in a coma, where it's.
You don't know if they'll wake up or not.
You don't know if they're ever going to wake up. The doctors are telling you that it's brain dead, and the transplant surgeons are waiting outside for the approval to start organ harvesting. That's the analogy that I would use for E3 at the moment.
I feel like the organs were already being harvested and given to Summer Game Fest body.
Well, wouldn't you say that E3 was like pretty much it's got some sort of heart condition like in 2019, and then it was like, oh crap, it caught COVID, and then it was comatose after that. And it's just been biding its time on life support until then. And I mean, can we say it's out of this misery now?
Let's be frank here. Like, Neil Druckmann was on the stage of Geoff Keighley's Summer Game Fest and not at the E3 of last year.
Wait. E3 happened last year?
No, it didn't.
Mitch?
No, it didn't.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
I feel like the harvesting of bodies have already started to happen, and some of them are going to Geoff Keighley's patient.
So what? Okay, I'll reframe my analogy. Geoff Keighley has kidnapped someone. He's keeping them alive on life support, just to be able to harvest off their organs and give them to other people.
There you go. I like that one. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
So he's got some billionaires hanging around in the background who they've drunk themselves out of their own liver and they need a new one. So Jeff's gone, I'll sort you out, mate.
Kojima gets first dibs.
Did you expect it to be this?
You pay extra if Kojima kisses the liver before it gets implanted in the body.
Oh my god. For some reason, I thought you were going to say kiss the glute muscle before it goes away. Anyways, do you think...
Geoff Keighley loves kissing Kojima's glutes. There's fan art of that already. There must be.
There needs to be more.
In crying. Okay, anyway. Let's... what I was going to say is, do you think... because this was like a slow... Like this was like a bleed out, basically.
Well,
just slowly
started back in how many years ago did
EA
leave?
No, I'm sorry. I'm just referring to this year. Just like slowly people were backing out after they announced it was happening, and then all of a sudden,
that slow. In the grand scheme of things, it was we're putting E3 back on, and in the space of time that they said that, Sony already. And they kind of re-announced that they weren't going to be there. Microsoft re-announced that they weren't going to be there. EA said nothing. Activision Blizzard said that they weren't going to go, which, I don't know, could be in part because Microsoft weren't going. And Devolver, who else was there? Tencent came out and said they're not going to have any presence. And Ubisoft then recently said that it's going to be in a quick cascade of I'm mixing metaphors here now. The dominoes have fallen quite quickly in terms of the people who've said that, no, we're not going to be there. and then you've got a couple of holdouts. So basically, Capcom and Square haven't said that they're going at all.
Sega backed out. Yeah.
So
And Konami. Remember them?
yeah,
Konami was supposed to be there with the big blowout.
Mm.
It's
yeah,
like,
whatever.
what are they going to do now?
Well, Konami, I don't know.
Keighley
'cause
going to
Konami.
call Konami? They want to do the double K?
Keighley and Konami and Kojima, Triple K.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
Oh,
Be careful there with that phrasing.
Yeah.
Phrasing. But I guess in your minds, were you guys like...
hopefully their publicists will realise that before all three of them arrive on stage.
Anyway, basically, like, what was kind of your first thoughts once you knew that it finally was over this time around?
Well, it's not officially over, but we're just kind of waiting for the announcement, which is why I used the analogy of someone.
No, they announced
dead
it.
in
They
a
said it's
hospital.
not happening this year.
Did they? When
Yes,
did they say
they
that?
officially said that as of like 4 days ago. I think
yeah,
that was
like
the
it was
date,
it was a few hours after Tencent and
Ubisoft
Konami dropped out.
and yeah, when Ubisoft, Tencent, and Sega dropped out, I think it was like within a day. E3.
No, Ubisoft was a bit earlier in the week, but everybody was going like they're probably going to die now.
Yeah, and then I think the
2 days later,
the head of E3 was like, "It's not happening. Sorry, like I'm sorry."
Well, how does what I'd say is, how does the head of the E3 still have a job?
I mean, I think it was if I remember
this
correctly.
is really nice. This smells really creamy. I'm not talking about Keighley up Kojima's backside.
No. I should not.
I
said
should
that
not
joke.
have said that and then took a sip of drink, because that did not.
Kojima calls it his snake eater.
Oh wow. Okay, I should not have brought up that glute joke. Jesus Christ! I just.
This is the greatest episode ever.
What I'm trying to say is, basically, I believe that not the head of the ESA is running E3. I think they brought in a third party to do that, and it was basically whoever was the head of. I believe it was like PAX and stuff.
Indie Pop.
Yeah,
they brought in Indie Pop.
and they were very disappointed that they weren't able to put on E3 because they were just like, "Hey, we had a lot of cool plans."
Yeah, I bet they did, and they said they had a lot of cool stuff to go on. I think it's just a case of the ESA haven't been able to, or they've been unwilling to, I don't know, change anything. Because obviously we don't know what discussions have been going on behind the scenes, but there must have been something. And this is why I mentioned EA leaving, what would it be, nearly 10 years ago now? Or 7 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
And doing their own thing. And then when... who was next to leave? It was Microsoft. No, it's Nintendo. They went, screw this, we're doing our direct, screw you. Okay, we'll have a presence at the show, but we're not doing, we won't be doing a presentation in the same way that we used to. And then saying, well, why do we even bother going?
Well, they waited until this year to realize why are they going, because they backed out this year for the first time.
Microsoft was a bit strange because they sort of said, yeah, we'll still at E3.
Oh, we're just across the road.
Yeah, we're just next door.
You know.
I think for them, it wasn't as much of like leaving E3. For them, it was just like, hey, we have a property right next door. Let's just use that and save ourselves some money, but still be part of the
But
E3
you've seen how
experience.
ludicrous the prices are on those, just having a slot in their exhibition?
Yeah, millions of dollars.
Nuts money.
Which is why I say that the ESA seemed incapable of even thinking about change, because if for however many years you've been able to, in effect, gouge people for money, because you believe that you are the best and only outlet for them getting information to the public, why not try and gouge them? But now that's no longer the case, and it hasn't been the case for a few years now. It's just everyone else has caught up and thought, screw this. And particularly Tencent. I mean, they could pay to fill the entire arena if they wanted, and it would appear as a rounding error on their overall budget line. but them saying no, we don't want to, is, I think that's probably the most worrying. For the If I were a member of the ESA, is that if you can't get this big kind of behind the scenes mega publisher company, media company, to even think about paying to go and get the exposure that you're touting, why would anyone else do it?
You know, the one entity that just loves throwing its money around as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could say that, oh, that's a missed opportunity for Tencent, because with all the publishers all the game publishers and developers that they own, they probably could fill the entire convention center just with their IP. But what would it gain them? And that's the thing that I don't entirely understand. What would they gain from doing that when no one else is there? Because the whole point about E3 was the all eyes on me, which is the one that Michael Pachter keeps coming up with, where if you get everyone else together and it's this big kind of video game loving, and you get national media coverage, but how many people care about that anymore? Fewer and fewer. I'd say fewer and fewer people are reading USA Today than they were a few years ago. And no one cares if the quote unquote little Timmy wants a PlayStation for his birthday or Christmas or something. Little Timmy or Tamara, I don't know, pick a name. They'll tell you what they want because they know, because they've seen it online, probably on TikTok or Instagram or some other. Yeah, TikTok. So I see less and less reason for E3's specialness argument.
Yeah,
Do you
man,
agree?
they really can't scrape together enough content to warrant it anymore. I mean, when everybody was sort of in agreement that this was the big sort of blowout event of the year, it was fantastic, and you used to truly look forward to it because everybody agreed this is where we show everything off, But I think since really anybody dropped out, sort of like it doesn't really matter, but when EA dropped out, it's sort of like they sort of let the cat out of the bag that you can just do all of this by yourself, and you don't need to run it by these people who are price gouging you for like this event that probably shouldn't cost nearly as much as it does, especially when you consider how much money they make from it. But I would say one of the things that I wonder whether could happen or whether it will happen is whether Geoff Keighley could just get some funding and go in and hijack the same dates they had purchased to have the E3 event at the Los Angeles Center. And just like do his.
I don't think they would, because the whole point about that is the Los Angeles Convention Center has got deals with all the unions, and that pushes up the price because you've got to use specific people to do specific jobs. And I remember Shane and Matt talking on Game Face at one point where they were setting up some equipment and they went over to even something like a power socket, and someone shouted at them because they shouldn't be touching the power socket because that was their job, to monitor what got plugged into a fucking power socket. So there is that.
I think the other element comes into play here would be, that would be great and all, but like you can't really do it this year because no one is ready with material. Like it takes a while to get material ready to go. Like to do all these like demos that
everyone's lined up for Geoff shit, so why can't they have it ready for some other time?
Yeah.
I think like to have it be on what we were saying, Liam, and you could correct me if I'm misinterpreting what you're saying, was you basically like, why doesn't he buy up the convention center and then we have booths and all that up? Like that's not, some of the stuff might not be booth ready, right? Some of it might just be recorded demos, or some of it might be playable demos, sure, but like to do those things takes time. And I don't know if,
Yeah.
and it takes, and a lot of the times, if you want to do it, you have to take it out of your production time that you plan to do to release just your regular game. And so you sometimes have to make a decision between, do we really release a title maybe a couple months later because we wanted to do a demo for it or not? Some of them are going to choose not to do that because that's just going to cause more stress than it actually is needed.
Well,
I thought you meant
two
actual
things. Two things. Like this is the first year they're actually having a physical event, as well as the actual showcase, I guess. Because what's it? They're doing it from the YouTube theater, but I don't know where the physical event is. Maybe that's at the YouTube theater as well. But basically, like I suppose you could make it work in 2 months theoretically. Probably
Well,
won't happen.
someone said to me at work a few years ago, I want this new policy developed and implemented within 2 months. Can you do it? And I said, yes. It will be crap.
Theoretically, you could,
Yeah,
but is
you
it
could.
going to, but is it like a demo for like a convention or something? Usually you actually want to plan for it a year ahead of time.
Yeah, but that's the thing is that E3 have only just cancelled, so there are people that have been
But
basically
I
getting
see
ready
what
for
you're
it.
saying. I guess I interpret it
Yeah.
as you were thinking of pulling in people that weren't
No,
originally
no,
going
no,
to be
no.
there. And I was like, you're never going to get Sony, Microsoft, any of them to like
Oh, no.
go
No,
in
that's not what
again.
I'm talking about. It's
Well,
basically just taking
but
over
then
what they were
to,
doing and
but then
filling their
it,
shoes.
no, feel ya. But then to answer my question is, what's the point? If you don't
No,
have the big three there, there's no
Mitch,
point of having E3.
Mitch, his name's Liam, not Ophelia. I've got a question for you two. Would you prefer a condensed E3 style event or a more elongated release of gaming information based on whenever each individual developer or publisher fancies putting information out across the summer?
Um, I would prefer a short, like 3, 4, up to 6 days of just every company showing off what they have. But at the same time, I'm sort of like maybe that isn't the best thing for everyone involved. So as much as I hate it, I hate having to choose, and it's gotten better since the pandemic with how sporadic all these like little showcases and events are, and most of them are completely forgettable and a waste of your time. Um, I sort of understand the impetus to have everything spread out a bit more across the year.
Mitch?
I am more of a fan of the condensed version. There's just something about there's an energy around games when it was all condensed together within a couple days, and you had press conference here, press conference there, press conference here, and it was just exciting news, exciting news, exciting news, exciting news. That I don't think the summer games or the original summer game fest worked in regards to like spreading it all over the summer. I thought it was just kind of like, oh, this small publisher I've never heard of is doing a really, okay, sure. I'm not even going to watch it and I'll just wait for the news. And then there is no news. And then I'm like, okay, well, that was a waste of a post. Whereas I feel as if the little guy actually might get even more noticed in the condensed pack of everything else because everything is exciting, everything is new, and even the smaller things seem exciting because you're so excited about the bigger things that have been happening. And they're like, well, we don't want ours to get lost in the spotlight. It's like, it never does. If the game is good, it never will get lost in the spotlight. It will always get noticed. That's the thing.
If you can mix metaphors again. If you're shining the brightest light at something whilst also simultaneously putting it under the most powerful microscope, you're not going to lose anything.
Yes, exactly. And so I'm a huge advocate of like, I think the old E3 is really something I would prefer to happen again. Do I think it'll ever happen again? No, I really don't. I don't know what would take. It would have to take a lot to get all of three to like agree, the big three plus third party publishers to get together and like do this thing again like it used to be. Geoff Keighley might be the Lord and Savior, the one to do it, who could actually might be able to have the balls and the strength to be able to do it, because I mean, he technically did bring the big three CEOs on stage, to give out an award at the Game Awards, like what, 3 years ago. So like he can bring.
When they said everything was going to be great, and then they immediately, well, two of them turned basically rabid towards one another, and the other one just sat there eating his lunch and watching.
Yeah. One retired. He was like, "Fuck this, I'm out." But yeah, I just think I really do believe. Well, actually, two are out. Only one of them stands. But what I'm trying
and
to
you want him out on his ass.
The one that's still there is still there.
The one that's still there, you want out.
Being the leech that he is. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think for some reason having all the three together really just had this energy that you just can't quantify, and I think it was something that gamers could celebrate. It almost was like a holiday, and I would take my vacation days on those days just to watch the press conferences, because like I thoroughly enjoyed what was happening, and like there's an energy, it made you want to go. I mean, that's why E3 was so big on that's why E3 was so big on once they opened the doors to the public, why the public was so excited to go, because they're like, oh my god, do you see what's happening? Like, I wish I was there. And it's like, that's amazing. Like, you want to be a part of that, but now that's not there anymore.
I wish I was sat at home watching a stream of this. Not the same level of hype.
No, I think that happened as well, and people just went, it wasn't quite as great as it built up in my brain to be.
But
on those public days.
But what I think was happening, and again, I don't mean to come off as, I'm not a Sony pony, not trying to come off as one, but I think
when did that happen?
But I think what Sony was trying to do near the end of their E3 time, which is like transform it into a more of a performance, like a show featuring games. I think that was going to be the right direction. Like, I really think they nailed what to do to answer your call, Keith, of like, oh, just watching a stream. Well, this stream has a live performance of someone performing live music that features from part of one of the titles, or this has look at the staging that they put on the stage, or the orchestra.
What they did for the announcement of the 2018 God of War was chef kiss perfection.
Yeah,
and not so good afterwards, because if you're watching that at home, it just seems weird and stilted.
Mm-hmm. You don't understand what's going on, and then all of a sudden, when it comes together, you're like, "Oh my god, this is free!" And then you're like, "Oh my god, there's the camera angle with the orchestra still playing. Like, they're still playing while you're like doing the gameplay. Oh my god!" Like, it's
that was absolutely brilliant.
What I thought you guys were going to bring up was how, because they had it sort of down pat and done pretty well, and then they did that Last of Us Part 2 presentation.
Yeah, that was weird. Weird.
I think
it was enjoyable, but it didn't mesh well, especially with the whole 15-minute break and
for the viewer, it was really stilted.
Yes,
but if you were there, it would have been absolutely amazing. I'm sure.
Yeah, totally.
Sure.
But if you're watching, for me watching that live, I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on? I don't understand this. And then obviously you've got a guy playing a Spanish guitar very well. Then you've got some bloke dressed in traditional Japanese outfit playing a flute for far too long.
I think that was their attempt. I think that was their attempt to like take it a step further, and I think they stuck to. I think they just, what unfortunately it was, they took it. They didn't have a way to take it a step further without becoming that jarring. Like what they were trying to do, basically, it looked like, was they were trying to like. Now you see the stage, you see the music being played, like you want to be a part of that. Let's try to create an immersive experience where you're actually inside.
You don't have to defend them. You agree with us. If you were watching it at home, it was just a little bit off. If you were there in person, I'm absolutely adamant that you would have found it great.
Well, here's the thing, that they didn't. The journalists the journalists were so pissed about it.
Why are we having to get up and walk somewhere else?
Even though you're like, dude, I want to be in that space. Like, that is freaking cool. Like, they built
the room, Sony.
Like, they freaking built themselves a little church cabin thingy to like give you a full experience of like getting you in the mood of the game that you're about to watch gameplay for. Like, ungrateful is what I would say. Is like, seriously, like,
you get to go to this amazing thing for free as part of your job,
Yeah.
and then you moan about it.
yeah, you could say, hey, yeah, the transition was a little weird for us, but to say like, oh my god, it was such a pain in the ass to like find it, and it's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, that was like something that
you're living
we
a lot
would
of people's
kill
dreams
to
right
go
now.
do right now, right?
Yeah.
We would
It was
all
a bit
kill
strange.
to be there.
I'm not sure I kill people. I'd maybe sever someone's foot.
Something you didn't like as well.
Yeah, as well.
Use the opportunity, right?
Exactly.
Nah, I'll do Bobby Kotick.
I'll do both his hands. You do both his feet, and then he'll be fine anyway, because he'll just, I don't know, pay for someone to chop off someone else's hands and feet and have them stitched onto his, because he's rich enough to do that.
Yeah. But anyway,
did anyone know that he's actually threatened to kill an assistant of his? I don't know if anyone's mentioned that.
Allegedly.
No, he did. There is a recording of him threatening to kill an assistant.
But what I'm trying to say, go ahead.
He had to pay them off.
Anyway,
because he could.
What I'm trying to
Do you know who hasn't had to pay anyone off?
Me?
I wasn't going to say you. Well, not this time. Not that I know of.
Twice to Grace, former president.
No, I was actually going to bring us back to games. Is the ESA?
Well, I do have a question for you guys.
I'm not sure about that. Do you remember when they leaked everybody's private information?
Moving on.
My question first.
No, because mine was on the topic, and then you changed it on me, bro.
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
I was talking about like Sony, like, and basically like their stage theatricality was potentially, like, I felt like the future of E3 if they stayed and people didn't complain about it. Do you guys agree with me? Do you think like that would have worked for the other publishers if they took from their lead and like started to do more immersive experiences on stage?
No.
I don't think anyone would have been able to do as well as Sony did doing it. That would be my thing.
Would they even have the games that would really suit that kind of sort of theatrical performance?
Could you imagine the Microsoft one?
Master Chief on stage.
Yeah.
Hey, that would be that might be freaking cool. Like if they did a like, I don't know, if they played the music and then have a live like fake gunfire fight on stage, like that would be freaking cool. And then all of a sudden it leads to the camera.
Ubisoft tried to do that. You remember? It was fucking cringeworthy.
Well, that one was just a fun kids game. This is Master fucking Chief.
Yeah.
Or it'd be cool to see Master Chief escort each person. Oh, that'd be interesting. Because like, he's so freaking tall. I think
it would be cooler to just see the fucking game.
Yeah. But going back to what we were originally talking about, the condensed nature of it, for a industry that lives off building hype, that week
was
did more to build more hype around games than anything else you could possibly do yourselves, other than, I don't know,
well, it
Nintendo
broke through into the mainstream.
Other than, I don't know, Nintendo coming out saying, we've bought the planet, you all are now owned by Nintendo. I don't know what else you could do. And this kind of more piecemeal, sporadic nature of stuff is, for me at least, I'm finding it less and less interesting the more it goes on. So the more Xbox Live events, the more PlayStation showcases, the more I've completely stopped watching Nintendo Directs.
I don't watch Nintendo Well, I only.
Well,
here's
I think.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I think you sometimes we need to recognise that certain things aren't for us. Like I still watch Nintendo Directs, but I often find myself a little bored. But the truth is they're still very successful. And I think the reason they're successful is they know their audience and they're trying to basically show their audience the kind of things they want to see. And I think they still do a great job of that.
No, I don't doubt that they do, but that's why I said for me.
I think
Yeah,
I think the other element about the Nintendo Direct specifically, which I'm agreeing with you, Keith, I don't watch them very often. It's also because they telegraph what's on the Direct already, so I know if I need to watch it or not. Like if it's a Nintendo's, not gonna watch it, or Nindies or whatever you want to call it. Nintendo's. Oh my gosh, intestines. Anyways, it's Nintendo for your intestines. Anyways, what was I gonna say?
Coming to a hospital.
There's a hospital near you, where Geoff Keighley will harvest it and put it into his new transplanted body. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, Nintendo, they display what's on them. I don't watch the Microsoft ones. I don't give a shit. Like, to be honest, I don't.
Who the fuck does?
I'm ready to I'm ready for them to like literally show me real games instead of tell me that there are real games coming and then show me more CG trailers and shit. So I'm over that. And then the Sony one, at least in our cases, like we notice the verbiage. Like if there's like a showcase, we're like, okay, that's gonna be a lot of Sony first party stuff, because they'll even say it too usually, right? And then if it's like a whatever, what's the other one called? State of play, they'll be like, oh yeah, this is what you're gonna see. You're gonna see third party stuff and like maybe some VR or whatever. And it's like, okay, cool, I know what to expect. So, and they're all short. That's the one thing I can say. Like the showcases are longer, right? And then I think the other one is shorter. I already forgot the name you told me.
Normally half an hour.
Yeah. So I think
one thing I will say is that the big problem that needs to be overcome is if they are going to spread everything throughout the year, rather than just have a focused week or so where we can get all of these announcements and events out, is they need to get better, because other than Sony, and even Sony has a few issues with this, but other than Sony and probably Nintendo, everybody else does a very poor job of setting expectations to the audience. And while they can keep doing it for a while, but eventually people are going to get fed up and see that these companies are going out of their way to waste people's time. Well, it's just like, if you don't have anything good enough to show, don't do anything. Wait, show it at somebody else's thing, or just don't do it at all. And if you're going to show stuff, and I'm looking at you, Microsoft, last year, if you're going to show everything, you're only going to show stuff that's going to come out within a 12-month period after that showcase. Tell everybody up front. Don't just wait until the first 10 minutes of the show to tell everybody. Tell them months in advance so they can set their expectations effectively for that. It's just, they would have done so much more success.
Liam, hold on a second. Even if they did do that months in advance and say that all the stuff that we're showing is going to come out within a 12-month period, based on previous experience, there's no guarantee that might happen.
Also, on top of that, the other thing would be would be like, oh my god, they showed Hellblade first before anything else. Hellblade has to be there. It's like the first game that needs to come out on the console, right? Oh my god.
Yeah, but at least that would mitigate the problems. It would mitigate the issues.
But Hellblade isn't coming out in 12 months, so they didn't even show the damn thing.
I remember, Mitch. Before that thing came out, everybody was like, see Fable, we're going to see Valve, we're going to see this and that. They're going to announce a new Fallout game. It's just like, people are nuts, and people can be nuts and stupid and have their expectations completely out of whack. But for the general audience that isn't like that actually, isn't a ridiculous idiot and believes everything is going to happen, they can set their expectations effectively. It's going to be 12 months. You'll still have people going, oh, Hellblade's going to be there, and this is going to be there. But it won't be quite as wild. It won't be outrageous. People won't be disappointed as hell when the event is over.
Well, one thing I will argue with, like, yeah, they're doing these events separately and within these videos, but this isn't new. Like, they used to do this, but then just do it at conventions. Like, they would basically say, hey, Tokyo Game Show, we have some stuff for you to show off because now it's around that time. Or, hey, PAX, we got something to show off because there's something there to show off at PAX. Like
that wasn't quite the same though, because whenever it was an event like Tokyo Game Show or PAX, people knew that this isn't a big deal like E3.
Right, but again,
Gamescom.
But again, like the information that we're given in state of plays, like the Nintendo Nindies, even Microsoft stuff. Like the only I'm not doing any inside baseball here. I'm literally just trying to like call it off the top of my head because I really don't know, and it's been a while. Showcases for Sony only happen once a year. That's their E3, right?
Sometimes they do something at Gamescom, and sometimes they do something at Paris Games Week.
But
For a few years.
No. I'm talking about now. I'm talking about now.
Oh,
they
now,
only do
okay.
the showcase once a year. That's like their E3, and then they do these state of plays throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's the same thing. It's literally like that's the type of information they would give to like PAX, or that's the same. It's not mind-blowing amazing. It's like more information about games we already know about. It's the same thing. It's literally that's the only difference is they have full control, and that's all they want. And like that's the complete difference.
They wouldn't give those things to PAX or so on. They would just happen to announce stuff around the video game exhibition, and usually it would be a blog post or a trailer on their YouTube channel. It's not quite the same. It doesn't set the same expectations.
They would also show the game out there too. Like they would have a demo of the game out to like show off the new stuff. Like yeah, they do partner with them occasionally. Yeah, is it all of it is like, oh, it's on the floor? No. But like they'll announce it during that time because that's an opportunity to get like the headline.
It's not the same thing. And
I think it is.
Barely paid attention to those events.
Well, you just proved the point. Keith doesn't pay attention to any of these smaller ones anymore. Like that's the point. It's the same exact freaking thing.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
If they announce a state of play on their Twitter page, suddenly the whole fandom goes nuts. Like me or you or Keith.
But I think
don't care that much because we've learned what to expect with this.
But I think also there's
if you look at the comments underneath these things, people are going nuts, expecting all sorts of stupid shit.
I think also, but you have to put it in perspective is like we're in a different time period. Like the time that we were releasing stuff to PAX and stuff, we didn't have the internet was not as mainstream. It was only for the core of the core. So yeah, you would still get that kind of feedback from unlike GameTrailers.com or on like all the forum sites on Kotaku. You would get all those, but now it's all condensed into Twitter. And so, like,
I don't really understand the point you're trying to make.
The point I'm trying to make is no difference.
This is how you make this better. It's not comparing it to how things were 10 years ago. It's more, they could make this better by just being more straightforward with what information they're going to put out.
And I was never pushing back on...
They don't have information worth telling people
I was never pushing back... Oh, hold on, one more. Last point. No. It'll clear things. I'm trying to say I'm not arguing with you at all. I don't know why you're arguing with me about this. I don't know why you're pushing back on it, because literally all I'm trying to say is I'm not disagreeing with you. All I was trying to say is this is the same thing they've always done, except now they have control of when they release it. Like it seems like it's the same thing.
I don't agree with that though.
And
I don't agree with the whole point about control.
Yeah, I don't. They've always been control.
There was an element of we want to leave E3 because we want to control our own message. I don't know where this has come from.
No, I don't. I'm not saying that.
I know you're not saying that.
Gotcha. Okay.
But this seems to have swelled up from somewhere, that somehow the ESA were telling people what they should show. So there was this whole thing about, oh no, they need to control their own narrative. So where the hell has this come from? Because I can't find it anywhere. The main reason that they've all left is because of money. We don't want to pay you millions and millions of dollars for 1 week of the year when we can save, I don't know, 90% of those millions and millions of dollars by not going and doing our own stuff. The dichotomy for me, word of the day, is what I was talking about previously about hype. All of these companies want to build hype around their releases, their IP, what's coming up that's new, what's being tweaked that's old, but being reimagined. Who have they got working for them who previously worked on whatever, insert AN iconic title. And all of that was under the microscope for the E3 week. Whereas now, you can't use the same argument to say, oh, we've taken this away and we need to build hype around our stuff. Well, you had your opportunity where everyone was looking at it. I mean, even the bloody BBC will send correspondents out to LA to cover E3. No one cares anymore in mainstream media in this country about games. I mean, no one's reporting that Rockstar takes money from the taxpayer every year just for being Rockstar Games. So the argument about ownership of the narrative is, I think, completely made up by the fans and just been, I don't know, it's not been clarified by the companies to say, actually, no, that's not why we left. We left because we were getting gouged for money, which makes the ESA look bad, which they don't want to do apparently, but they're happy to let the thing die. But then we also want to build hype for loads of stuff, but we want to do it in this kind of piecemeal way that doesn't step on anyone else's toes, but drags it out throughout the course of a year, which makes it somehow less than what it could be. And Microsoft have got nothing to show anyway. No one gives a shit about Nindies.
I think
Sony have focused on too much about VR, which is only going to be the niche of the niche of the niche, because there's no T in niche. So I don't. There's multiple layers here that I don't get.
Can I help you understand one of them?
Made up externally. Some of them are internal marketing decisions, which just come out and say it. We just didn't want to pay the ESA the money to do this. And then there's the ESA side of this, where they've been surprisingly silent, because I don't think they know their arse from their elbow.
Well, to help you answer one of your like things like I don't get, I think the advantage of doing what they're doing now is because there's a certain date that is set every year. Like you're just like, you have to have stuff ready for this date. It puts a little less pressure on the dev teams to be able to have something ready by then. It also is a lot of the times that's when things get announced of like when something will release. And sometimes you really don't know when it's going to come out, and you don't want to wait a full calendar year to announce a release date. Now, in this future time that we live in now, yes, they could make adjustments and then do an extra announcement in the middle of the year. But in their mind, it's like, why are we like holding ourselves back when we could show off way more and then say it comes out this day and know it's going to be ready to go, than to just have it be like at E3, not as like have a decent performance, but then we're waiting like 5 more months to wait for a release date that they could have just showed that stuff they showed at E3 plus more on their own thing ready to go. You know, do you kind of get what I mean? Like it also, I think the other part is it puts weight.
I do and I don't, because I understand the point that you're making, which is about.
I don't think it's their only reason, but I think it's a benefit that's happened.
A benefit for whom?
The devs.
Yeah,
because the dev teams are the ones that have to make this game, and it puts them under a lot of pressure.
I agree with where you're coming from as a non-human being now, developer. But I would go back to what we've discussed in the past about these things. That's a failure of management, not a failure of the workforce. If you're going to announce something that's too early, and like Liam was saying, not manage people's expectations effectively, that's the fault of whoever's in charge of the PR for the game.
But do you think
not the people who are making it?
But do you think they're pressured too much because of the fact there's this one window? You talked about it. This is the one window you can get noticed. But do you think? But what if you just started in like what if you're like in between and you really want something to release and you push the extra mile to get it released, but then all of a sudden you're hurting the people that are working on it.
Who wants it released?
Like to have a successful game, you want people to see it. So like there is motivation from both the like Sony and there's motivation from the studio themselves to say, hey, we want this done. We want to show off this thing. Like everybody wants to be a part of that. Everyone wants to be a part of E3. Like it's not like in that itself puts unwanted pressure onto studios
I,
to like
I,
release stuff, even though like sometimes they'll back out and they're like, we can't do anything this year,
an-
but we'll be
from
there
an
next year.
from an overly simplistic view, and obviously I am still a human being, I'm not a video game developer, you build that into your project plan and say, does E3 fit our project plan? Yes or no? And if it doesn't, you don't show something. Or if it's, we've got a concept trailer, okay, fine, show the concept trailer. And then you do what Liam is talking about, which is managing expectations around that. So I don't disagree with what you're saying. What I'm trying to say is you can do all of this. It's just for whatever reason I'm mistaken into understanding why people don't.
Um,
And the only thing that I can come back to is we don't want to spend the fucking money. It's baseline. Let's take this down to its nadir, which is we don't want to pay the ESA, and that's the crux of what I want to get to for us now is why don't they want to pay the ESA? Is it just we've been gouged by these fuckers for years? That's it. We've had enough. And I don't know what level of collusion has happened behind the scenes, or if everyone's well, if they're going, we're going. If they're going, we're going. And what could the ESA do to get these people back on speaking terms? Because it seems like they don't even want to know them. So does the ESA, if E3 doesn't have a future, does the ESA have a future? Liam.
Well, to be honest, the disconnect between the publishers and the ESA in terms of organising an event is just so poor. I mean, they can't get anybody on board. I mean, there's been stories about prior years where they're just so forthright in what they want for the event, and they don't allow developers any flexibility around the exhibition as to what they want to do. So you think if they organise an event that poorly, you'd think, well, surely, because their primary function is they're supposed to be a lobbying body on behalf of the games industry in the US Congress, right? And
that was the purpose of their inception, yes.
yeah, and if they can't even organise this event, what does that say about their future in terms of understanding the games industry? I don't think very highly of them, and I don't think they have much of a future. And honestly, as much as I would like something like E3 to exist in the future, something where everybody could come together and just have a nice week full of announcements. We used to call it gaming Christmas, and I think that is exactly what people want, but just without all of the bullshit from the ESA. We already have to put up with all of the publishers' bullshit.
How dare you?
So I just don't see any point. And if they refuse to change how things are going to go for them, if they refuse to relent, then why should anybody partner with them in the future? Because there's just nothing to gain. They can do all of this stuff by themselves and probably make bank from it.
Or does Geoff Keighley set up an independent video game lobbying lobby? Not
I
lobbying
mean,
lobby.
say what you will about
lobbies.
Keighley, but he seems to know a hell of a lot about the industry, and he seems to understand it quite well.
Yeah, if there was a lobby in a lobby, would that make it a mezzanine?
Yeah.
Um,
Also, he's Canadian. The Canadians can't be greedy. That's scientifically proven.
Mitch, what's your take on the ESA handling of all this?
Okay, it's probably this time that I have to be careful with my words. My question would be to you guys, like, what's the ESA's job? Is it to host an event? Are they a hosting event organization? What's their organization?
It's a lobby on behalf of the video games industry.
Okay, so like what?
Actually,
but not. Yeah.
It's a lobby on behalf of the members of the video games industry who pay them fees.
To do what?
Lobby on their behalf.
But also, what else do they do? Like, what do they put on the games? They set what?
No, they don't set ratings. That's not the ESRB who meant to be a arm's length
yes,
organization.
They work together. Yes. So Have we seen them do very much as of late? I don't see them doing very much as of late, especially when we have a lot of conversations about a lot of different things involving games. I don't see them really doing a lot of work.
Well, yeah, because
They were too worried about their E3 event. That's all I'm gonna say.
well, which is where I have issue with them as an organisation. You'd think they, as a lobbying body, well, it depends. Again, I don't see who pays into them as a lobbying body, and how much, because I don't know if someone paid them $1 billion a year and someone paid them $100,000 a year. I know whose back I'd have. But they've been silent through this whole issue between Microsoft and Sony and the merger of or the acquisition of ABK. You'd think, as the video game lobby group, they might actually have a view on this and maybe put that forward to the US Congress. It would be interesting to see how much Microsoft paid that congresswoman who came out and said, well, Sony have engaged in anti-consumer practices and they've got a de facto monopoly in Japan. It'd be interesting to see where her next campaign contribution has come from. That's just me being overly skeptical.
It's just it would have been very handy there was a body like that could have, I don't know, just told the Congress that those things Sony said about how what did they say? They said that early during the whole acquisition process, they were talking about Microsoft and basically flagrantly lying. I can't remember what it was, but it would have been nice if well, not nice for us, but nice on behalf of Microsoft, if they could just come in and tell them, actually, that's not true. Just going to point that out, since you guys don't know very much about the games industry. I don't believe that. That's Sony trying to get one over on you.
The interesting thing is there's no equivalent body anywhere else in the world.
Nope. I also think the frustrating part for me on my end is that let's see. A lot of it's like the ESRB, the ESA, they work together because it's the lobbying group, but then it's the group that creates the standard ratings that the lobby then will say, hey, we're regulating.
I specifically mentioned that they need to be arm's length.
Yes, and so
you can't have the lobby try to influence the ratings board, and you can't have the ratings board directly reporting to the lobby, because then it would look like some form of collusion.
But at the same time, they do need to work together because, like, basically the ratings board needs to set ratings, and then the lobby needs to advocate for them to say, hey, this is beneficial to our industry. This is why we don't need to be as regulated, because we're regulating ourselves through this other entity that works.
Yeah, they've done a really good job on loot boxes.
But yeah, I mean, that's a great example. The other example I can think about is, over the last 10 to 15 years, I mean, actually not 15 years, over the last 10 years, types of violence. We have more information about mental health, trauma, triggers. That it's interesting that if you look at a game like Dead Space Remake, that they have to put content, that they have to feel that they need to do it themselves, not these other organizations that could have done this for us, to be able to set standards and to help the games industry and not put it on the devs, and to potentially put them in harm's way of their consumers which has happened because
there's some, I can't remember the game, but there was a load of fanboys who got triggered by the fact that someone had put a content warning saying that there was the next scene. I can't remember what game, and again I'm going to quote the Podquisition and Steph Serling. There was some oh god, I wish I could remember the game. There was a part of the game that contained a section of violence towards women, and the devs had put a warning in to say, this is what's going to happen in the next scene. If you want to play through it, press here. If you want to skip to the next scene, press here. And a load of people kicked off saying they were censoring their game. It's like, it's their game. They can't censor their own stuff, you fucking morons.
But I also don't think it's censoring. I think it's actually helping. Dead
Well, that's
Space,
what I mean. It's not censoring.
right?
It's providing people with the information so they can make an informed choice about the media that they consume.
Right. And so like Dead Space remake did that throughout their entire title. Was like one of the first AAAs to like really give content warnings and allow for people to have fully understanding of what kind of trauma these games are going to offer to people, because what is currently on the ratings on your game is not really that descriptive anymore. It used to be back then, of course, because we didn't have the complexity that we do have nowadays. Whereas like Resident Evil, I can shoot literal arms off and see the muscle flabbings and all that kind of stuff. And so like it is a different time we live in, and it's just very surprising to see how organizations haven't evolved with the times to really make sure that we are, not putting that on the devs, right? Like it should be standardized across the board that we should have trigger warnings in games. I believe in it. I really think that's the next step into rating ourselves and like protecting ourselves as an industry, because the last thing we want to do, like the other, sorry, for our last example is like freaking Cyberpunk 2077 puts in a, now they got rid of it after that happened, but they put in a flashing sequence that was an exact replication of something that was meant to cause epilepsy in people, and a reporter got seizure. And like, that's not cool. That's not safe. Where are these organizations to help set the standard for us so that we can protect our consumers and protect our industry, right? Why is it up to the dev?
I totally agree with anything that could potentially endanger somebody's life, but I'd say as far as content warnings go, it should only be things that could potentially cause harm to somebody. In terms of like whether they include content warnings for people that, you know, have a fear of dogs or have a fear of something like this, I would say there should be the developer's choice as to whether they include something like that. Of course, there's
totally.
always going to be an incentive like for those things, because if people like them, then they'll want to include them in their games because it's valuable to the player.
Oh, totally. No, I don't disagree about the one where like if someone has an arachnophobia, they probably will.
Isn't because this was the thing with the Cyberpunk thing, right? Is that they included that in the game, and that literally shouldn't have been in the game because that could literally cause harm to the people. But you know, it went through the cracks.
Well, they didn't think about it.
Basically, the rating boards missed it. Just.
But the rate? No, the ratings board doesn't look at that. That's not part of their.
Why not? Does Sony have to look at it? That seems like a huge thing to miss. You know, a huge thing to go under their noses.
Well, that's just something that they don't check. That's just that because that's not part of their ratings board. It's violence.
Maybe somebody should check it.
Maybe it's something that should be standardized.
Yes, just.
And also on top of it, it should be a concern to the dev instantly to go, hey, this video causes seizures. Let's import the exact video into this game.
Yes, it seems like a strange thing to include in the game, for sure.
Just so I guess
more bizarre the more you think about it.
Yeah, so I guess that's my take on like the ESA and all that. It's like I think great, they exist as an organization to help the games industry. I don't see them as late helping really the games industry. Now I don't know when like games got, and I think probably, over the last like couple years when the games industry got blamed for like mass gun violence, I don't really know how much the ESA stepped in to like really cut that down, or if it was just people going like, dude, everyone plays freaking games. It does not simulate, like, it's not that there is a difference. And now there's research out there to prove otherwise, and prove that it is not causing these types of things. It causes stimulation in the brain, but not to the point that's going to make you a killer, right? So what I'm trying to say is just like, I see these organizations, I understand what their purpose are for. I don't see them evolving with the times to help create and protect our industry like they need to be. And that's what's so frustrating. And then for the ESA to be the ones to be like, we're putting on E3 every single year and we're making you spend all this money to give money to us to do absolutely nothing.
Well, this goes. I want to kind of finish on a point about does E3 going away? Does that mean that the ESA therefore go away? And we've known for a number of years that they make a significant amount of money from E3. The majority of all the money that they make across the year comes from that one event. So can they survive as they are currently now without that level of income? I would say no. And I would also say, if I were on the games industry side, and say, you are the only group of this sort in the world, and we operate globally. Mm-hmm. Why do we need you?
I wouldn't
unless there happens to be another kind of groundswell of anti-tech feeling, because there's not that going on in the States at the moment, I'm sure.
Just with AI.
Yeah. Just for today anyway, because it's a Sunday and no one's working. But if I were on the publisher platform holder side, I think I can afford to pay for time to talk to senators and congressmen and women myself. Why would I pay you to do this for me? So again, I don't understand what their operating model currently is. I would personally find it really interesting to find out what their operating model is and what they're trying to sell to the people who they are meant to be, and I say that particularly, lobbying for on their behalves.
No, I don't disagree. I'm curious on if they'll make a serious pivot and try to like find a last ditch effort to show how important they are to the industry. Like, this is like, hey, like, this is our last stand. Like, let's do something bold and big to show how important we are, so that you will not have to like pay into E3, but you'll say, hey, you need to fund us still every single year.
Mitch, you absolute devious bastard. So basically what you're advocating for is the ESA are going to contrive a video game related conspiracy that they then will solve in order to get people to come back.
Yeah,
and
or just
perpetuate their own existence.
Or do their job. It's like, right?
No, do their job, idiots.
So, Liam, what do you think?
I mean, I have a suggestion for them. You know, maybe they should do something to I don't know, shoot a hole in that golden parachute Bob Kotick's got. I know you'd like to see that parachute shot down, Mitch.
Hey, I would advocate hardcore for them to be funded every single year if they got Bobby Kotick's parachute burned.
At least it would be very entertaining for all of us. Yeah, but I pretty much agree with both of you on your points.
But we gave two different reasons. He thinks it's just going to go away. I think they're going to do a last-ditch effort before they go away. Which one do you think is going to happen?
Well, I'm sure they're going to do something to cling to survival. I just don't think it's going to work.
Agreed. I don't think it's going to work either.
I don't think they have any ingenuity in that. I don't think they're going to be able to pivot in any way that warrants them existing.
Yeah, they have too many event coordinating people on the team to really actually do any lobbying.
Yeah, but to be honest, they probably have a lot of useless people there that do absolutely nothing.
And again, this makes me think about what do lobbying organisations actually do? I'd love to become a lobbyist, because I'd probably just sit around having expensive dinners in expensive restaurants, paying for other people to have expensive dinners in expensive restaurants for no quid pro quos whatsoever.
Yeah. All right, before we go, now that we know where E3 is gone, the ESA is gone, let's talk about the Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Just quick thoughts on what you thought.
Mine is going to be super quick.
Go for it.
Don't know, don't care.
Liam?
I do care. Not going to play it on Switch. because holy moly, I can't take it anymore. Bring out a new console, Nintendo, because I just don't want to play any of your games on that old piece of shit anymore. Bring out something new. Thank you. Jolly good. It could be Game of the Year for all I care. I'm not playing it.
I think they are like growing. Sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? I think they're emphasizing the wrong things that I did not like about the last game. So this is like turned into, I really don't want to play this title unless I find it for $20. Like the building, I don't want to do that. Like an open world building game, like it's just so stupid. For me,
See, Mitch,
they kept
for
weapon
every one of you
degradation.
and me, there's a Nintendo fanboy out there that's literally salivating at the mouth.
I'm like,
12 million
They're
of them.
and a little bit too close to their private parts.
it's just like I do not find that entertaining or fun. And I just I don't know, something about this. I was looking forward to this title, but now I just think it's going to be the exact same thing as the first game, no story or little to no story, and then just have this building mechanic all over it, and it's just no, thank you. That's a hard pass for me. And I'm shocked I'm saying that because I actually was wanting to try this game out, but now I have no interest.
Well, the thing is, Mitch, is we still know nothing about it. Like, nothing. I find it hard to care about this game until I see the 10 out of 10 reviews that are imminently coming. You know?
Oh, didn't you know? If you know nothing about a game, it's a 10 out of 10. That's exactly how games work nowadays, right?
Yeah, I mean, this press on.
All right, last thing, final thing. Guess that review Metacritic score. Go.
Well, oh, the Metacritic for Zelda.
Yeah, what's the Metacritic score going to be for this thing? We know nothing about it, but we know something about it. It's going to get that Nintendo
I'm
bump.
going to guess the exact same as Breath of the Wild. Whatever the hell that was.
No, give me a score. I want a
I'm
real
looking
score.
it up.
Yeah, I'm looking it up.
Well, I mean, that score isn't going to be what was the
It's
initial
currently
score.
sat on a 97 on Metacritic.
Yeah, I think it was at like
It's what it will be.
You think it's going to be right at a 97 once reviewers review it day one?
It's going to be a 97. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to say 94. 94 with 10,000 death threats.
I'm going to go 96. No. 95. I'm going 95.
Mitch, you're playing Price is Right rules again.
Fuck yeah,
96 it is.
95, Bob. 95. All right.
I've given up on everything Nintendo.
I mean, also the game, it looks not bad, but it's just I think I'm really with you, Liam, about the hardware. It's just really turning me off now.
Well, it's annoying, Mitch, because they've released some of the best games they've released in like 10 years on the Switch, I would say, in my personal opinion. I'm just tired of using that hardware.
I was getting my car done at the mechanic, and I was playing Xenoblade Chronicles. And looking at that game, I was just like, man, I feel like I'm playing a PS2 game right now. Like comparative to like playing RE4 earlier that morning and just being like, it's such a difference. Like not just graphically, it's just such a difference. But I'm waiting for the magical words.
So on the note that I neither don't know anything about nor care to know anything about the swearing up in
You may have inadvertently accidentally said something